This meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission Meetings YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and do we have someone who can approve the minutes?
I motion to approve our August minutes as presented.
Okay, and
I have. This is Marilyn. I do have an add-on that was not covered. If you have a minute.
All right.
On page 2 or wherever it lands, I'm just looking at my printout, where it says the commission extended an invitation to Mr. Maneri to visit the Waycroft Apartments for a walkthrough of accessibility changes. He can't come in. I just thought that we ought to say that he's not allowed to come in until there's an invitation from either VF Saul or the Waycroft manager. And that was an impediment. He can't come in to look at the Waycroft. We've extended it twice now, and it's on me to get that to happen through the Waycroft people. But I just wanted to say, just read for where it says Waycroft Department for a walkthrough of accessibility challenges after approval from VF Saul Corporation and the Waycroft manager. Easy? Is that pretty easy?
Yes, I got it. Thank you. So.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay, do we need anybody to improve that, or that's just A-okay?
That's good.
Okay, great. Now, I understand Laura Kim is coming at 7:45. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we move you up then, Justin, because you have to leave. So, do you have an issue about the new Arlington boathouse that you wanted to present to us?
Yes, I do want to bring that up because it is very, 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 very alarming and concerning. I've gone over it a few times, and on paper, it looks ADA accessible, but well, when we start to look over everything where the layouts are, you start to see that, for one, the parking lot from the parking lot at the boathouse is a very long distance away from the actual boathouse itself, and this is very alarming because I'm not going to mention anyone's names, but our high school's rowing teams, this new boathouse is designed for all 3 high school rowing teams: Yorktown, WL, Wakefield. But the thing is, they are connected with adaptive rowing programs, which makes things a little bit more complicated, which makes it harder for any disabled rower to be able to safely navigate that new boathouse with let me get myself together. Which from the parking lot to the boathouse, it makes it very hard for them to navigate. It may be ADA compliant, but in reality, as we know in this commission, what is compliant on paper to the ADA is not true in the physical results. So I would like to request on behalf of this commission to talk to JD Spain, to set up a meeting with JD Spain to talk about the boathouse and see if we can get some updates made to make it more accessible.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think it might be helpful if we had county staff come to our next meeting, or because I think the boathouse is a public-private partnership. So either the applicant or staff or whoever is, submitting the application for this project to come to this commission and present and have a conversation on what's going on before we go to JD, because if we're just skipping staff without, clarifying questions or our understanding of the project plans, I think it weakens our approach to the county board with any request or recommendations. Got to do the homework first before making the
A
presentation.
hasty decision.
So what do you think about that?
I think that works extremely well for us. That gives us the abilities to go in person and talk about the difficulties with the people before we have to escalate the matter to JD.
I wouldn't say difficulties with the people, it's just making sure we're understanding where we're at
Right.
before we're talking with, because staff are creating their doc, staff is ensuring that it's checked against the ADA, and we know the ADA needs severe updates. And so I think it's more beneficial for us to have that conversation than to make accusations.
Okay, and I have a comment as well. I'm fine with that suggestion, right? I would also ask Justin if you could go back to, or know if you already know it in your head, or you could look it up online. Is there a place where they could include one or two more parking spaces that were closer up? Because as you said, the ADA only requires that whatever parking structure they build, that the two closest spots are the closest to the location, and that doesn't help you at all or anyone. But ideally, if we could have a spot that we could say you could create it here or wherever you like. But that way you can say up front, there are ways to accommodate us, even though it's not ADA requirement.
So the main parking lot, I actually have the plans pulled up right here. And oh Lord.
Did you display?
Oh Lord, that is not a good spot for a dock. That, from personal opinion,
if you Google Arlington Boathouse, it should be good.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. The spot and the main parking lot is not a good spot. And that makes, if you think that, then that makes perfect sense to me. What I'm saying is, are there alternative spaces that would work better where they could put in one or two accessible spots?
Yeah. Thing is, where they're putting parking, you have the GW Parkway, and then this is where the boat ramp is.
Well, I guarantee you they're gonna ask that
Yeah.
when they come. They're gonna say, well, what's the alternative? So we might want to have an alternative.
right. Like,
I'll email it to you.
can I give you guys a bit of a rower's perspective on this one?
Sure, but what I'm saying is, since it's not an ADA requirement that they move it, and we want them to move it, You
Right.
can give us the perspective, but ideally, we have to be able to tell them where we'd like them to move it.
Right. I think that parking lot where GW is, in that area where emergency access is, would be a better area, because first of all, I think we can all agree no wheelchair user should have to travel that extended length of distance,
Yeah,
because that like if here comes my point of view as a rower comes in. You have to get down, you have to haul yourself down to the dock extremely quickly, and from there, God knows what your rowing coach is going to put you through, either a sprint piece or a head race piece or a 1,000 meter piece or a 2,000 meter piece. Hell, they can extend it all the way up to 5,000 meters if they really needed to knock in a lot of training. After all of that training, that exhausts people, and that puts a huge wear on them. Then they have to go all the way back up to, then we have to go all the way to our cars or to our vehicles to get home. With that extended length of distance from ADA accessible parking down to the dock, down to the boathouse, to the dock, and then getting hit with a heavy piece or any piece, because let's admit it, rowing is a highly intensive sport.
mm-hmm.
It's great for a lot of people, and there are a lot of great adaptive programs, but after a long, hard day of rowing, and you have to get back to your parking spot, that is going to physically wear you down.
Mm-hmm.
And that like, there are other great examples of boat houses in the area that does better in the terms of ADA accessibility. Thompson's Boathouse, literally right across the boathouse, they have excellent parking. Anacostia Community Boathouse. Wheelchair accessible parking is literally right there next to the boathouse.
I think, Justin, the challenge for this site in particular is just the geography of the site. Because looking at this, just to try to get everyone to know where this is, it is right across from Theodore Roosevelt Island, and so that's I-66. No, that's still GW Parkway, I believe. Yeah. So with that being a high volume traffic road that has high speeds, I think the issue is safety for drivers, and safety, even if, like, let's say they only dedicated like 2 ADA spots at the emergency vehicle ramp area, which would probably be the most possible place to put those spots. I think the entrance and exit with that curve would present a greater safety risk than the benefit of moving the ADA spots closer to the boat storage area. I mean, that's a tight piece of land they're working with to begin with.
Right.
I have a question. So you're saying this has not been built yet?
No.
Well, that's a whole nother kettle of wax. Then that gives us some leeway to say to them, since it hasn't been built yet, could you consider a different configuration? So the configuration would be, you know,
Yeah.
away from there. I was thinking this was already built. So, but one of the things that I would ask is they must have a loading dock area, right? You know, for, I mean, is the boathouse the only structure? Because if it's not there, it's gotta be a loading dock for big trucks. And maybe around there, they could put some accessible spots, considering what Byron said.
So there's other components to rowing teams. Whew. You also have the trailers to transport the shells, the riggers, and the oars. Most rowing teams in Arlington County, actually all of them are, they primarily do sweep rowing. Except from my knowledge, Wakefield High School does a combination of both, which determines the size of the rowing shells. Sweep shells generally larger, 8s, 4s, and those generally tend to be larger, requiring a larger trailer to transport. So you have to account for those trailers, door space as well. So, but I can probably imagine I think this is why we should probably end up having I think this is right. It's probably a good idea to meet with them. I think on that I have to agree with Bryant, because there's further need to get more information on this before we make a decision on what we need to do. I could give you guys a point of view from the rower's perspective, but like at the same time, I'm not building boathouses. My job is grab oars, grab boats, and row. That's it.
Well, I think that you made very good points to us. If you just told them what you told us during this meeting about how rowing is uses up energy, and then to have to go back a long distance for a person with disability or anyone really can be extra hard, and then you wouldn't have to come up with a solution. You would ask them to try to come up with a solution. But if they say no, you might want to have something in your back pocket to suggest.
And issue with this, Justin, is that the land that the county is building this facility on is on the National Park Service. So we not only does the county have to approve the change, they also have to deal with the Department of Interior to approve any amendments to the plan as well. And I'm, looking at the environmental impact statement, and they do a 504, 508 compliance. I'm just saying, it's a tough spot that boat placed in. So
Also need a spot.
that's the one that the Park Service gave us permission to use. They evaluated Alexander, Roach's Run, Gravelly Point, and then the site that is currently approved.
All right.
Okay, well, now we know what they will say. Maybe they'll come up with something different.
Yeah.
But I think that your points are good. There's no reason for us not to meet with them. But it's good, Bryant, that you brought these up so that you can be prepared ahead of time. So, when do you think we could schedule a meeting like this? I know our agendas are pretty full.
To speak to have somebody come, or speak to JD.
To speak to county staff.
Speak to, okay, I'll have to reach out and see who can come. I know,
Michael Cullen is the.
Michael called.
Yeah. Mhm.
So let me reach out to the gentleman and I can get that scheduled for an upcoming meeting.
Okay, Justin, is that a good plan for now? We'll try to get a schedule with them, and in the interim, you can try to come up with some options. And if you can't, you can't, we'll just ask them for options.
That works.
All right, thanks for bringing that up, and I hope you're feeling better, Justin, soon.
Thanks, and I'll be in contact with you as soon.
Okay, and if you can stay on, great, you can meet our hopefully newest member, Laura Kim. Laura, thanks for joining us. Can you hear?
Yes, hello.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I've always been on the phone. Elizabeth Prio. I've been on the phone, so you might not recognize me well. But our interim chair, Karen Audit, is on vacation in a location where they don't even have internet. So good for her. So I told her I would take over for this time. And with your permission, Brian, well, let's go back up to, well, this is Bryant. I don't know if you've met him,
Hello.
but he's another wonderful member who is commissioner who is taking notes.
Mhm.
And also, we should say this is being taped, so don't say anything you wouldn't want to say to the whole world.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Okay, great. So what we've done so far is we asked for public comment. There was none. We approved the minutes. And then we took a comment about a boathouse, which is not going to be ideally accessible to many folks who have disabilities. So we've done that. So we are now going to hear a statement of interest on from Laura as to why she's interested in being a member, and then she's a member, as far as I understand. Yep, then you're a member.
Well, we have to, so after that, then, the commission can recommend her to the board for appointment.
Oh,
I'm happy to do so after this.
then we will, unless you say something, all right. So let's hear, not to be worried or nervous in any way. We're very nice people. So you might just want to tell us why you're hoping to be on the DAC.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I apologize. I'm a little bit late. I'm coming out of a candidates forum that was held where the state candidates running for election this year were talking about disability issues. So if I'm late for something, I figured that was a pretty good excuse to be
That's a good excuse. Obviously,
late.
don't have any serious good as that.
Yeah.
All right.
But yes, I am interested in joining the commission because I come from a public policy background, but I am relatively new to advocacy, but I will say that with a caveat because I lost a lot of my vision about 4 years ago. And so I had to really relearn how to do everything, the way I interact and navigate the world. And so I would argue in my professional career, I'm relatively new to being an advocate. But I think as this person with a disability, I would argue that every day you go out in the world, you are advocating for yourself. So,
Yes.
so that I just as I was relearning how to do things that I used to do differently, and interacting with all sorts of folks, and really learning what speaking up for yourself was, it made me interested in advocacy in general. And so that got me connected to the Independent Center of Northern Virginia, where I'm a policy and advocacy coordinator. And part of my role there is to try to encourage our community to be more engaged in local, national, state, any level of government, and it can be just their daily lives, right? It doesn't have to be writing a letter to the governor. But then I thought to myself, well, practice what you preach, right? And I feel that I'm very lucky to live in Arlington because a lot of things here are so good, and especially compared to the rest, other parts of the country or even really other parts of the state. I feel very fortunate because we have um, made a lot of advancements and accessibility that, and I have a lot of friends who have disabilities who live in Arlington, and, we're grateful for what we have, but there's always avenues to improve, right? There's always work to be done because things are always changing. And I really do believe that the age-old advocacy saying, right? Nothing about us without us. And so it's great that the powers that be are trying to make an accessible environment, but I don't think that means anything if our voices, the people of the disability community, if our voices are not included, right? And our feedback is not included and our demands are not listened to. So, yeah, so that, it started, the advocacy bit, it started with a personal journey, but it has really fueled me going down this path professionally, and also just being really more interested in my community and where I live, and being active in my local system. And I still have a lot to learn. I am relatively still new to this field, and I know something about, the blind community, and not a whole lot, but there's, with my new work and everything, I'm just learning that I know so little, and there's so much for me to learn, and I just can't think of a better place for me to contribute and learn and work than the Disability Advisory Commission.
Well, here, I just love every word that came out of your mouth. That's Elizabeth, by the way, that's just said that.
Thank you.
So, we're just here to ask any questions. I do have a question. I know that Doris also works at ECNB, and Alexa used to, right?
Right.
And is she still on the board, Alexa? No, she's not. So, okay, well, that doesn't matter then. So it would mean two viewpoints from the same agency, but it's one of our main disability agencies in the county. So in my opinion, that shouldn't matter. I don't know, Marilyn or Bryant, if you had any questions you wanted to ask.
Yeah, just this is Bryant. One question about your background for your public policy background. Is it state, local, federal, or a mix of all three?
Yes, in my previous work background, which had nothing to do with disability, but we were primarily working with state level governments and some large cities like New York City, and providing research and some resources for state governments who wanted to help people save for retirement. So this is not related, but I got to witness, from a bird's eye view, sort of what it looks like to build up a grassroots campaign and go around the state and engage with stakeholders. I kind of saw that through through a third party view. And part of that work was related to federal, but it was, it was really a great chance for me to see, they say the states are a laboratory, right, before it goes to the national level. And so it was fast paced. There was a lot of things going on. Each state has kind of a different take on how they think they can solve an issue, and they're tailoring. And the important thing was that they're tailoring their approach based on their community, right? Their needs of their community, like who it's composed of. So it's there's the problem may be the same, but their approaches are, whatever approach they decide to take could be different. And I think that really fits in to sort of our community as well, the disability community, because we're not a monolith, right? There's not like one thing, you do it one way and it's going to make all of us happy. Or, I know that even among the blind community, just because, you make one change, it's, people navigate the world differently, even if you have the same disability. So, my previous experience, I think it's just really taught me that you have to be adaptable and really listen to who you're serving.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. I think what I'm hearing is, it sounds wonderful. I mean, this is like almost a policy, more of an outreach off, gives us a little bit more leverage in policy, et cetera, that we may not have, that you can bring to the party. So I don't have any other questions, just a yay comment.
Laura, I just realized, and see, I'm already glad for this. I forgot to have us go around and describe ourselves, introduce ourselves. So I am Elizabeth. I am not the chair. I'm just the acting chair. I am a white woman around in her 50s, and I'm wearing shorts because I still want it to be summertime.
Same.
And there are two other people. I have a walker next to me. There's two other people in the room. Courtney, who you probably talked to, she's our liaison from Arlington County. Courtney, do you want to describe yourself?
Yes. Hi, Laura. My name is Courtney. I'm a Black middle-aged woman. And it's a pleasure meeting you.
And my name is Brian Atkins. I am a white, early 20s, don't ask anyone to verify that information, male.
And Marilyn, we can't see Marilyn either, but we happen to know what she looks like.
Yeah, I'm in California right now, missing the meeting. I will be back next week. But at any rate, I'm a white woman with a disability that I've had since I was born. And I just came to this group because of that and my interest in getting things fixed, finding things, getting things fixed.
That's great.
Yep, that's us right now. But sometimes we have other members, and actually later on in our agenda, if you don't have it, I can read each piece aloud as I go along. Do you have you already sent it to her, Courtney? Or
Yes, I believe she was on. I can send it.
all right, are you able to access the agenda, or do you? I mean, I'll just read it.
Yes, I believe I got the email from Courtney this morning. So yes, I do have it.
Okay, and is she able to join the meeting, or do we need? What's the next step here, Courtney? For Laura.
So the next step, I'll confirm if she's interested in joining, then I'll recommend her to JD Spain to appoint her. So that's the next step.
Okay.
But they'll keep her posted along the process because he's probably going to want to schedule time to meet with her.
And I would love it if you wanted to stay on, Laura, because our next big conversation is on priorities. And I don't see any reason why we couldn't ask our potential new member to weigh on priorities. So since I'm chair, I get to say, yes, you can do that if you want. So we'll just get to the next part, which is the next part. the next part is that at the last meeting, Karen mentioned that she has been the interim chair for the past couple of meetings. And as interim, she's met with our board liaison, JD Span. She's done several things representing us as the DAC. And at the last meeting, we asked if anybody else would be interested in running to be the chair. And if so, they should contact Courtney. And Courtney has not heard from anyone. And so Marilyn and Bright, this is your last shot to say if you want to be the actual chair, and then we would have an election. What do you think?
I say I am not interested in running. Just want to stay as an active commissioner.
Okay, great. And Brian?
I will say I motion to recommend Karen Adopt to be chair of the Arlington County Disability Advisory Committee and to send that recommendation to the county board.
Okay, and
Second.
what do you think? You say that? All right.
All those in favor say aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Yay.
Yay. Well, Karen will be
Yay.
very happy to hear that. She's been having a lot of meetings on our account, and I'm really happy that she stepped up. Okay, so good. That's that on here. Now we are going to discuss commission priorities. And this is something that Karen, I think, has spoken to each one of our members about, including those who aren't here tonight, to ask them what how they wanted the commission to look in the coming year. Did they like the way the agenda was going? Did they feel we had a clear sense of mission, understanding of the goals? Did they feel like they wanted to set any kind of new procedures? And that, at least that is what I was told, and that is what I was asked by Karen. And so what she did was ask that when it came time for her chair report, she sent it to me. And she asked, she gave me the information that you all gave her on these calls. And so this is basically what she's noted. Please excuse me, and I'm going to read it right out loud. I solicited everyone's feedback around commission priorities. And what was mainly referenced by the bulk of us were priorities of transportation, housing, commission governance, new member recruitment. And then she said, other issues and similar issues I will reference here in no particular order. And what she would like us to do is not just feel stuck to these issues, but consider these issues and other issues. What do you think is missing from the list? How many priorities, if we do decide to have priorities, can we take on? Should we have sub-priorities within priorities in order to make it more likely? And that she wants to make it clear that we would always be able to take on an emergency priority that came to us through public comments or something that came up, such as Justin's comment about the boathouse earlier today. She does not want us to think that if we create priorities, it excluded other things that seemed more immediate. So these were some of the other priorities that came up: housing, ADA accessibility, and code enforcement. And by code enforcement and ADA accessibility, she meant that there does not seem to be a person, an acknowledged person within Arlington County that's an ADA coordinator or a 504 coordinator or somebody that's actually looking at ADA and 504 code enforcement We know that there is a code enforcer in Arlington that has come to several of our meetings, but he looks at Virginia and Arlington code enforcement. And so we were looking for somebody that within the county, when a new building is being built, they will have reviewed all of the plans for the building or the boathouse, as today we heard, somebody that could look and see that all 504 and Fair Housing Act requirements are followed, and that if we had somebody like this, it would potentially resolve some problems early so that things didn't have to be retrofitted after the fact, which generally costs more money. So that's what she was talking about as far as that. Then several people mentioned transportation, including problems with STAR and other paratransit, pedestrian accessibility, county employment life cycle. And I'm not sure what she meant about that, but maybe somebody here was one of the people who brought that up that could address that. Adult changing tables, that comes from Justin, and he has brought that up for a while and already met with a couple of Arlington staff and representatives about that. And then number 6 is, I'll just read it out loud. Establish a county clearinghouse for ADA and accessibility to prioritize code enforcement beyond Virginia's building code, web accessibility for ensuring compliance with WCAG guidelines by the April 2026 guideline, a deadline, I guess that's the deadline for ensuring WCAG web enforcement requirements, resource availability for county residents, i.e. who to contact and how to file a complaint, low cost, no cost training opportunities for county staff whose work has been a nexus with the ADA and accessibility. And I think that is coming from, we will recall that Karen took a course on ADA accessibility, and it was very extensive and difficult. And she would like other county members to have access to that if they're in a position where they can be bringing up ADA or issues. And whether we want to continue to advocate for an ADA Fair Housing Act coordinator position, or as I think it stands right now, Courtney, I believe, deals with employment issue ADA concerns. Is that true?
Title I, Title II.
Title I, Title II within the Arlington County. But we have heard that some people who have ADA concerns are directed to us, the DAC. And while we're happy to take the concern, we're all volunteer, and we don't feel like that is the right place to go. At least that's my opinion. I'm only speaking for myself on that last part. That was not written in her notes. So I'll ask her specific questions again, and Marilyn and Brian and Laura, feel free to speak up on your thoughts on this. So the questions are, what do you think about these potential priorities? Do you think that there's a major priority missing from this list that we ought to consider? How many priorities do you think that the DAC can reasonably take on and make progress in? And those are her 2 questions.
Well, I think obviously at some point, maybe at a future meeting or a separate meeting, to schedule this out, prioritize them like 1 to 10. There's just so much there, and she and I talked about this. It's fraught with things that we need to do, just like you read. But it needs to apply like a schedule, a timeline, whether 1-year plan, 2-year plan. Then within those plans, assign a priority within those plans of what we think we want to take on, but should probably be at a future meeting. That's my suggestion.
Okay, so your thought is to not discuss them right now and have them future meeting, which is more organized, such as discussing each priority for a little bit each session maybe, or something like that. Is one of the reasons you don't want to put your thoughts down now because you don't have very many people, or because you just don't feel comfortable throwing out your
Well,
ideas?
it's really hard to pick the top 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, I think, without discussion. Do you agree with me, Brian? I just, and then applying a schedule to that. Like, what do we do in the next 6 months? What do we do in a year? And then reprioritize within that schedule.
Yeah, what I would say, definitely need Karen's notes like written out to like sort of like lay out everything you just said, because like that was a lot to take in. And then like what
It is.
Marilyn said, maybe we can do a prioritization matrix of like what is the most immediate need, and then have the other axis that says like what is attainable within the year.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna take notes, so, I was not
One
prepared.
is to get us the list, I think. Get us the list of that list just to begin with, that we can look at it, if you don't mind, that would be one action.
Yeah,
Okay, once, sorry to be
all good.
so, what is desired related to priorities is a list of the priorities we have mentioned, perhaps in a matrix, similar to what you have provided me, but with more clarity. Okay, what were your 2 thoughts, Brian?
Same as Maryland, and just like a prioritization matrix so we can
What do you mean by that? Because the problem is she didn't want to prioritize for us, but she did say these were the ones that came up the most. I don't think she listed each one. So.
Well, it's more like what is the most immediate need, and like what exercise for us to determine what's the most immediate need, and what we think will have the least resistance, the easiest to work with staff. It's because
Right.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you're actually
Right.
starting the conversation.
yeah.
You're
Yes,
the
exactly.
conversation.
Yes.
So one of the things that you want us to consider is what is the most immediate need? What area will we have the most success at obtaining? What were some others, Marilyn? Or Frank?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of in the matrix, we don't want to get down in the weeds on this, but what has the most value? That's part of the matrix, I think. The value. The need is really can be the value, but I'm just thinking, I don't know if you want to, in a meeting where we just separate meeting for maybe what we do on a monthly, that just sit down and just throw darts at stuff and say, this has the most value. This is a 1 to 10. This is a 5. And then that way we can apply schedule to it. Like when, based on these values in the matrix that he's talking about, we can get our mind around it, I think, a lot better, at least for me.
Okay, so one other factor is value, as far as, are there other groups already taking this on? Can we join with other groups to make it more effective? If there are other groups, then is this a issue that has value? It's sort of like that, right, Marilyn? Is that
Yes, and then who we'd have to coordinate with. If you really want to do the right thing and get it done up front, then you would say, well, who do I go to for that in this county? That's something that Karen and I talked about too, is that we are all just like I went through with the parking. Melissa only does street parking. Yeah, who are the people that we have to work for with each of those organizations, each of those items?
Could we easily access those folks? Would they be interested in talking with us? What is their receptivity? Okay.
Now, where do we go for each one of these? Where do we go? Who do we need to talk to if we do?
Okay, I think those are all good things for the matrix. What I do know is that Karen is not going to want to fill this out for us. What I can do is have Courtney distribute online or in various modalities a matrix. Now, I don't know how matrix has come across with screen readers.
Mhm.
So,
I can make an adaptive one.
so Brian,
Yeah.
one that you think would be a screen reader
Yeah.
appropriate, and then, and what you're also suggesting is that it should be outside of our regular monthly meeting, or just
Well,
dedicated?
just because we could try to do it, just, that would be the primary thing on the next agenda, I would think, because that's going to take some work and discussion. I think, once we have the list, and then, I think, did I hear Brian saying maybe, or I could do it, kind of a draft matrix that it's not got all the data in it, but just kind of what would be on the matrix so that we would have that to work with at that meeting.
Well, Brian
The-
said
the
he
next-
could work on it to ensure that it was screen reader accessible.
Yeah, Marilyn, I can, since, two members can work together without having to do, I'll get something drafted and share you on the Google Doc and we can just work through it together.
Perfect.
Laura,
Yeah, perfect. And just let me know, when you've got something to look at, and then we'll weigh in together. That would be great, even prior to it.
Laura, with the assumption that maybe you'd want to join us and maybe you'd be here at the meeting where we distribute a potential matrix, would you like to suggest the best way to provide information to you? I'm guessing you're low vision. I'm sorry, I just a guess.
Oh, yeah. So yes, I'm a screen reader user. I would imagine anything in like Word, or I don't know. It should be fine, whatever format you have. Even like a PDF, it's usually not to a point where I can't read something with my screen reader.
Okay,
As long as it's not like a picture, like don't put a JPEG of a that
Yeah.
my screen reader would really
I think
struggle.
Right.
it'll just be like boxes on a Word document, like 4 boxes and, but I also, at my job, I also sit next to our 508 compliance team, so I can also ask them, it's like, what's the best way to, get this prepared?
and I realize I probably should not have asked you that in public, so let's discuss it outside of the meeting, and I appreciate your honesty and something I shouldn't have asked you.
Oh,
Sorry.
no worries.
Okay, so, so that means like, that's our next step, is that you guys work on a matrix. I'll send you the thoughts you already had, so you don't have to remember these. And then we will, have a time in another meeting where we try to create priorities. And, I think we should use these priorities, make sure we include them, because Karen did go through the process of meeting with all of us, and she did identify these as top for at least some of us. So, how do you guys think about that for the next steps? Do you want to do anything else related to priorities right now?
No, I think that's the best we can get at now, especially since we don't have like Karen's notes written now and we really don't have like a facilitation activity to do now. I feel like an unstructured talk would just have us going on a continuous round robin session. So I think we got a game plan for what to do for next meeting.
Okay,
And this is the first that we've seen each other's priorities. I mean, I had my
Yeah.
meeting with Karen, you had your meeting with Karen. And so, and none of those surprise me or anything, but I need to see them. That's all, before
Yeah.
we can start talking about them.
Great.
okay, then, the next part is commissioners' reports. I'm not actually looking at the agenda right now. Is that, because it's making me send this myself? Yeah. Oh, actually, yes. Actually, I have to finish the chair report. Okay, so this is some of the things that the interim chair did just since our last meeting. She talked about the results of the STAR audit report. there were several problems with STAR that were written in that report. We were all given a copy of that report at the last meeting. And she met with JD Span about it and expressed that we had missed the mark and that we would like some follow-up with the commission, including what are the recommended actions for DAC moving forward. And some of the things that where she says we missed the mark are the fact that they don't have appropriate that we don't have appropriate metrics for them to be collecting on things such as how often are they late, how late are they, where a lot of the problems that were identified, we need better matrix for better data, is what she was talking to JD Span about. And Laura, just so you know, JD Span is on the Arlington County Board, and he is the liaison to the Disability Advisory Commission. Okay. Okay, so Karen briefed JD Span on the proposed pedestrian safety and accessibility event. And this is something where we are combining our efforts with the Disability on Aging Commission. I mean, not just the Commission on Aging. Commission on Aging is proposing an event in the spring where they talk about issues for both seniors and pedestrians with disabilities and people with disabilities, and issues around sidewalks. They're going to be having this in the spring in conjunction with another major fair for seniors that they have every year. And Karen and I have been meeting with a small group of people that are on the Commission on Aging to discuss how best to get our message out. And so we're discussing things like what should we have for people that could be distributed during the fair so that they would remember these issues. Should we have a walk? If we have a walk, how do we avoid some of the issues that came up 4 or 5 years ago when Pam Van Hine created a walk, and things like that. So she just wanted us to be aware that the disability, no, not disability, the Commission on Aging is going forth with a pedestrian safety and accessibility event. And Karen and I are representing but anybody can represent. They tend to meet at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings or Friday mornings. And they're very organized. So she also briefed JD Span on Mr. Amari's visit to the Disability Advisory Commission and our goal to provide input to his office on the Virginia State 2024 Building Code Development Cycle. And that I think came out of what we were talking about last month after we met with him. And does anyone remember what that is that might want to inform us all? I was there.
Marilyn, remember?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. This is when we asked him to come, I guess it's primarily for any new people that might be coming on, is that we need a code. There's nothing under ADA and no other enforcement for internal building access. So we went forward with a letter back in April that went to Mr. Spang and then to the person, Mr. Amiri, who did show up at our meeting after he did the letter last month. So it's from April to August. But anyway, that what we need is a code, and it could be code or codes or enhancements to codes for internal building access. People right now are not able to get into the amenities in the building or other doors or to the garage, or with their either a walker, a wheelchair, or if they have a visual problem. There's no buttons required in any architectural or development requirement for any new building, and everything doesn't happen because nobody has the money for it in an apartment or condominium, and it has been done. It's very simple. It's either hand waiver buttons or buttons so that people, for what they're paying for, can use the facilities that they have internal to their common areas in a condominium. But Mr. Ramirez said he's not even allowed to come into our building unless somebody has said we got a door that's too heavy. Doesn't meet the ADA requirement for just an internal door. This is much bigger than that, but I still think it's, and we all think, I think it's a simple fix. But we don't have a code that requires a developer, architect or developers to insert buttons and make them accessible for anybody. And this would include also people with baby carriages, people carrying groceries. It's not just people that have a disability. So we have pictures. I'm taking more pictures that show this. A person trying to open a glass door that you can't open if you're even have a crutch or a walker, much less a wheelchair, to use your amenity that you're paying for, either the condo or apartment. We think this is a no-brainer, but getting a code out of the state of Virginia is really difficult. But he has offered to take, but he needs to see what we're talking about. He cannot come into the building without approval from BF Saul or from the manager of a building. He's not required, he's not allowed in the building. He's a code enforcer for the county. He's representing the state. So my next step is, because I don't want to panic BF Saul or the manager to have this code person coming in, because there is no code that they need to worry about in there, that this is strictly informational for him to come in to help understand what it is that people are up against that are not covered by ADA or anything else, and it would be an easy fix, but nobody wants to pay after the fact. We want it in the early design of the building. So at any rate, that's the whole thing. So my next step is to meet in person with the manager to start, because I don't want them to panic. You know, we've got a code guy coming in from the county.
Right.
You know, everybody settle down. You know, this is, but I think I want to do it in person before I start writing the letter.
Okay, thank you for the reminder.
That's it.
It all now. And I remember you saying that you had worked for years in Fairfax County, was it? And that you were able to make some progress. So that's what you mean when you referred to it can be done.
It absolutely can be done, yeah. But the board for this building, I was on the board for this condominium of 5 buildings. It's 5 buildings, and I was on the board for those 5 buildings. For 4 years, they didn't want to put a penny into those buttons for those doors. We got it in the high rise. People said in the other 4 buildings, how come we don't have it? All those buildings now have the buttons. It took me 4 years to get the money to go do it. Now they love it. Everybody loves it.
So that might be something.
But it's after the fact, so you don't want to do it after the fact. Pardon me?
Right. So that might be something that you would want to raise as one of the priorities. I mean, we have other specific priorities that were on this list, such as who's going to ensure that the telecommunication regs are completed by 2026, and we have Justin's bathroom accessibility table issues. So we can certainly have an issue like that as a priority, especially if it's going to be resource intensive and take 5 years. Right.
Well, Karen thought that would be under housing. Now, she thought it fell when she and I talked about this particular issue, that would fall in a subcategory under housing, which is a priority. It's a big priority of housing. It's not just, you know, having an apartment or accessible for an individual unit. But she said that would be under that umbrella, was kind of her thoughts. But I think, again, this one hopefully would go forward even before we get the priorities. You know, this would be just a good example. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have big thoughts on how every priority has to have resources attached, and I plan to break them down. So, okay, great. Thanks for the reminder on that. The other thing that Karen wanted to mention is that she asked JD Span to recruit candidates for the Disability Advisory Commission, and specifically noting that not all of our members show up frequently for our meetings, and I mentioned perhaps we'll have to get a little bit strict about the requirements. But that's all, that we didn't make any decisions because it was just informal. Okay, and then she met with JD about attending the November DAC meeting in person. And JD Span said he will attend the November DAC meeting in person. Is that something she's already passed on to you, Courtney?
Yeah, I confirmed with her that he's coming in November.
So excellent, fantastic. Okay, then she wanted to let you know that she met with Mr. Chimba, who is the Assistant County Manager for the Office of Human Rights, EEO, and Chima, and ADA, to better understand ADA services and stakeholders within county staff, and also gain clarity on the DAC staff liaison role. So, so we can get a report from her on that, because all she did was tell me that she met with him. So if that's something you're interested in, we can put it in the next agenda. Otherwise, not. Okay, she had one-on-one meetings with commissioners and potential commissioners. So she's met with Brian, Justin, Elizabeth, Marilyn, Alexa, the former chair, and Doris. So that's a pretty good coverage. And she's gonna meet with hopefully our newest member, Laura, and another potential new member, Andre, prior to the September meeting. And she's reached out to Duncan to request a meeting to determine his commission status. Do we have any update on that, Courtney, at all about Duncan?
No.
Okay, no update on that. Okay, as was referenced at the August meeting, Karen has put an emphasis on DAC reviewing, updating, and crafting new governance documents to include bylaws, rules of engagement, and a process to develop a work plan. And we haven't actually ruled on whether we needed any of that. So if you have strong feelings about it, you could tell me now, or you could tell Karen publicly at the next meeting.
There's a section on the agenda for me to discuss that, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So Bryant has agreed to lead a working group committee. Thank you, Bryant. She actually put thank you with an exclamation point. We hope for a quick turnaround, and Karen has been reviewing other commission and jurisdiction governance documents. Bryant will speak about this effort later. Okay, we
Can
also
I make
have.
a recommendation for another priority? I'm interrupting, sorry.
Okay, no, go for
Brian
it. Do you have
said,
a recommendation?
okay, because I feel really strongly about, I've gone to site reviews, you, Elizabeth, have gone to these site reviews, for example. Rules of engagement needs to be a priority, I think, somewhere, of how we, when we go to site reviews, each one of us, we ought to have a list or something of how we're going to conduct ourselves, in those meetings, because we're all kind of just, I know I was going, I'm kind of, I'm adding in, but the rules of engagement is how we work with those site planners. I just think we need a better definition. So in other words, maybe some of this administrative or some of those things you just listed might be somehow prioritized or folded in as a priority somewhere. I just think it's really important that we know what we're doing as a commission going forward with those things.
And I don't know if we call it rules of engagement or not, but one of the things that I had mentioned at the last meeting was that I had gone to a couple of SPRC meetings, and I noticed that the bicycle community and the environmental community were just dominating every conversation. And
Yep.
The issues around both could impact disability access. And so, but we were not heard in the same way, I don't think, because I got the impression that these bicycle and environmental groups had gone in person, they knew all the staff, and they were all on a first name basis. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to call it rules of
Exactly.
engagement, but
I would say it's a priority in our work plan for those who are liaisons with other commissions or committees. Because, I know a couple of other commissioners, on housing, planning, transit, it's just a name review. And yes, will have regular meetings outside of these meetings. And like the space that we're in, the arena or whatever you want to call it. This is a recorded this is a recorded meeting, and I think some members of the committee would have more effective conversations with staff one-on-one, while also just for the record, while also being in compliance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. But yes, commissioners have success with staff, just knowing how county staff works, like what's the limitations, and having a lot of this technical questions asked ahead of time, and then like when you're coming into like the commission space, that's when you're like you're taking all the groundwork that you did before, and you're just laying it out in front of the public body so they can make the formal recommendation. So yes, that's what a lot of activists here in Arlington do. They do a lot of background conversations to then bring to the commissions.
They call them rules of engagement.
So no, rules of engagement would be specifically for our commission. So how meetings are run, because we've had, I brought this up with Karen, I'm not sure of others, but we've had issues where members have drawn out discussions of issues that weren't on the agenda, or even issues that were on the agenda. So it's setting like time limits, encouraging members to have written statements ahead of time, stuff like that. So the rules of engagement is just for us and how we operate internally as an organization, just to make sure we're all on the same page and we know what is occurring when we go into these meetings and when we operate throughout the year. So we're not discussing that in real time. We're discussing it at the beginning of the year. And then we have that plan to work through the rest of the year.
Okay.
How Justin goes out and does that, et cetera. How I would go out and attend any of these meetings. And I think the other thing I just heard was building relationships.
Yes.
It sounds like that other organizations are building relationships. And I certainly have not done that other than just talking to Melissa and the parking person, and Mr. Amiri and JD Spang. And I don't know where I should or where we would, but we need to be together, I think, on what we would do with that. We build relationships.
Yeah, that would probably be a work plan thing, just like for us to create, like, we get together and, Marilyn, you say, these are the issues I'm having. This is the people I've talked to, and we kind of we either search the website, we ask Courtney 20 questions just to figure out it's like
right.
Yeah, so rules of engagement, actually, and I know we're getting into my agenda items.
That's fine.
Oh, I was like, I didn't know if you had anything else to say from Karen.
There's one other thing, but let's just continue.
Yeah, so and I'll have a draft. I meant to have one this meeting, but unfortunately, stuff in my personal professional life did have to take priority. So I'll have what this will look like. But it's just mainly, rules of engagement is just our internal guiding, like this is how we agree to run our meetings. This is how we agree to run the commission. And it's a document that we'll definitely have to talk to the county board, because this document would be the first of its kind within the Arlington Advisory Commission structure. So it's definitely.
Well, not if we just call it part of our bylaws.
Well, yeah, but.
Because what you're discussing in other meetings are just bylaws, part of bylaws. And then other commissions have bylaws, so it's no big deal.
Well, yeah, they do, but this one is a little bit, we can adapt it a bit more quickly than having to run it up the chain. But it's a discussion
Okay,
we'll have to have, with, the county attorney's office.
I think that you're making it complicated, but okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. And then other than that, speaking of the bylaws, I am going through, I'm doing a refresh. Last time this was touched was in 2014. So, definitely needs a refresh, particularly, we don't have anything in our, charter that explicitly lays out how we can establish subcommittees. And I think, one thing Karen and I were talking about, it's like we really need a meeting or a space where commissioners can work together outside of our regular commission meetings. So we like drafting letters or, making plans for meetings, that type of stuff. It's like, I feel like we eat so much of this monthly meeting that having subcommittees where and Courtney has verified for this. So for the subcommittee, so if we have a subcommittee on letter writing and we appointed 4 members, like let's say we have a full 16-member advisory commission, if we, yeah, I know, daydreaming, but if that subcommittee had 4 members, that subcommittee still has to be properly noticed and available to the public. But the quorum does not have to be the quorum for the full commission, if that makes sense. So only like if you have a 4-member subcommittee, then you would only need 3 of those committee members. So,
Once again, I think you're complicating things.
well,
but
we don't have the
if you wanna do
ability,
that,
yeah.
That's fine. I mean, I've been on this commission
Mhm.
for way too long. 10 years, I think, and we've had subcommittees for the whole 10 years and never had to follow Courtney has let the public know, and I've talked about them during meetings, but I just want to make clear that we've had working groups at least for the past 10 years and never had to follow some complicated process. So-
It's like this is standard legal requirements.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because some of our meeting requirements have changed and been
Yeah.
updated, so that's, I think it's what.
Yeah.
And then also, because Karen did want me to speak on this, just want to be mindful that the chair is one that appoints the committee leader, and then the leader go ahead and committee. And then they go ahead and appoint the participants.
But yeah, so I'll have more information on our next meeting, but just something to keep in mind. Take a look at the charter. If there's things you want to amend, just start thinking about that, and we'll have a draft version at our next meeting.
Okay, great. And Karen said she was already using different means for collecting sample governance documents. So between you, your good knowledge of rules of procedure that you helped us with many times, and that it's in trusty hands.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the end. She asked if I would give a recommendation for setting this up.
Yeah.
So I recommend setting this up. What do you say, Marilyn?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I've all of a sudden realized that I'm overwhelmed at the moment. I had somebody waiting for dinner, but I'm gonna
All right.
hang up in a second because I've had them waiting for 30 minutes, but
okay. Well, I'm gonna go
I don't
back
know
to the
that- I
agenda.
don't have anything else to add.
We might be all done. So let me pull up the draft agenda again. Here is not the draft agenda. Okay, so we discussed that, we discussed that, we discussed that. We've discussed that. And we've discussed that. And, Doris is not here to give us an update on housing or site plan review. You're listed, Marilyn, for code enforcement, but you've already discussed that. And
Yep.
Doris is not here, and Doris is not here. Recap of our actions. We are going to ask the county board to suggest Laura, unless you changed your mind after listening to this. That is that, and then we are going to have, Bryant, meet on this with Karen. And then, we are going to have a matrix of the issues we'd like discussed for priorities. Brian is gonna help us with the accessibility and design of that. And, I can help you. Was there somebody else that, Marilyn offered? We're just going to go forward with that. All right, so that is our recap. Does anyone want to make any last minute comments?
So she wanted me to speak about the committee for the staff liaison part. Do you still want me to, because I think.
Committee
Brian-
for the staff liaison. Okay, go for that.
Okay, well, just to reiterate what Brian was saying, how is a committee established, the chair would appoint commissioner to be the lead on that, and then they still do follow the same protocols in terms of has to be noticed 3 days in advance, a meeting quorum, the virtual component still applies. So those are the main components. And once that has been established, I'm happy to start coordinating and scheduling.
Great, that's good, because we need you to do scheduling.
Do the one? Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, good, so then, we will be all legal.
Yes, ma'am.
So the next DAC meeting is gonna be Monday, October 20th, in the conference room 215, which I think is this room. And I would like to adjourn the meeting. That happen, meeting adjourned.
Second.
Okay, bye.
Second.
Bye, Marilyn. Bye, Laura.
Thanks,
Nice to
Thanks,
meet you all.
Elizabeth.
Have a good evening.
thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for pitching in rather than waiting for me to